Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Kevin O'Sullivan.
Oh, there you are. Welcome to another outstanding edition of Plank of the Week. And let's meet this week's brilliant panel. The one and only Alex Phillips, the remarkable Chloe Dobbs, the exceptional Adam Brooks, and the excellent Ellie Hodges. First up, we're going to choose the biggest idiot of the week, and who better to set the ball rolling than Alex Phillips?
What are you suggesting? I'm the biggest
idiot? Yes, that's exactly what I'm suggesting, yeah.
Oh, do you know what? I'm just going to pick Keir Starmer, because why not? Going to China, that's mental. What are you doing that for, Stan? Why are you just basically going up to Beijing with a giant
taking his burner
jet?
phones with him, though.
Yeah, I know. They've all got to have burner phones. They've all been hacked by the Chinese. Then at the same time, he's sort of on that Chinese psyop TikTok, constantly putting out videos to try and look cool, which he doesn't because he's not a human. I don't know where to end with this one.
Shall we have a look at him? He's impersonating Macron at a comedy show, apparently. There it is, hilarious Keir Starmer. What a loss he is to the comedy circuit. So this was Starmer, or rather Macron, didn't he? Turned up in Davos and had to wear sunglasses because
there's got to be a joke there somewhere. Small gun. He's not Top Gun, is he?
Yeah.
I have to say
Bottom gun.
That is the most relaxed I have seen him in a long time, because nowadays, every single time you see him in front of a camera doing a media round, he looks absolutely petrified, and he's so out of his depth, he can't answer any of the questions. You look at his eyes when he does any media round, he's like...
But he's amongst friends in China. He's amongst friends.
He'll be getting the champagne and the canapés now. If he's not in the country, it's happy days for him.
Did you see the last interview he had in the UK? He was standing in a pharmacy, and it just makes him look like he's like absolutely medicated now. He's like, I need all of these just to survive.
Yeah, and this is where he's trying to justify blocking Andy Burnham in this pharmacy, and he's like, we can't possibly divert resources to a mayoralty by-election. Everyone knows exactly what's happened, is that he didn't want to challenge
that's why I
didn't.
You know, blocking Burnham, I would do the same. However, what I didn't like was the complete gaslighting of the nation by giving us this load of old crap about why, they would trigger a mayoral election in Manchester that will cost a lot of money, and Andy's doing such a great... No. The reason you blocked him, Keir, is if he gets into the House of Commons, he launches a leadership challenge, and you lose the keys to number 10 Downing Street.
They don't stop lying, Kev. They gaslight all the time. It's like digital ID. We must have it to stop the migrants. We wouldn't stop one migrant. Yeah. They haven't mentioned that again, have they, with digital ID?
Oh, no, but it's been rolled out anyway, isn't it? Digital ID.
Through the back door.
Yes and no. I mean, it's another one of their backtracks. Now, there's one other story about Starmer in his multivarious reasons that he is the plank of the week every week, Rwanda is now suing us for £50 million as a throwback to the Rwanda scheme, because apparently the £700 million that this country invested in that East African nation in order to send rejected migrants there. And Keir Starmer, when he impetuously cancelled the Rwanda scheme, forgot to tell them that he was stopping the payments, and Rwanda is now suing for 1 month's worth, which is £50 million.
Wow. I mean, I do kind of feel a bit sorry for Rwanda, in that they put all this work into making these quite lovely hotels that looked a bit like resorts for people to move to, all prepared for the Brits to send over all these people, and then nothing happened. They just remained shut. I mean, maybe they're making some use of them now, but they were just sat there, beautiful new buildings, not being used at all. They put all this work in to welcome these people from
they got £700 million for it, so let's not weep too much for them. But the day that he cancelled it, impetuously and stupidly, they make a thing of the Tories wasted £700 million on the Rwanda scheme. Well, it might not have been a waste of money if you didn't flush it straight down the drain on day one of your disastrous premiership, Mr. Starmer. But when he announced that, it's just a gimmick, we're cancelling it, flash over to Kigali in Rwanda, and there were still workmen, trimming the hedges and making the beds in these hotels that were ready to accept our migrants.
I'd be like, yeah, man, Rwanda's pretty cool.
Yeah, but you don't get all the freebies there. They come here for the freebies, obviously. But there was reports that Donald Trump was going to use Rwanda.
And the EU.
Right, so they're going to build it on our money, and then they're going to go and use it. Brilliant. Well done, Keir Starmer.
So Keir Starmer is nominated for Plank of the Week for, I think it's about 400 reasons this week.
We'll make up our mind later.
Chloe, you are next. Who have you got?
I've got Judge Shan, so a Pakistani asylum seeker who claims to have come illegally in the back of a car boot to this country. He was convicted on 2 counts of rape of an 18-year-old girl.
Vulnerable girl.
Vulnerable 18-year-old girl who was drunk in a park. The friend she was with went off and asked these men to keep an eye on her, and what did they do? Raped her, very sadly. Now, why are we talking about this? Well, it's because we were kept, the truth about this story was once again kept from us for a very long time. This person was charged, I think, early last year. Lee Anderson went against the advice of the police and said, this is an illegal migrant. I know this is this one that's living in Mansfield. And he was told, oh, you've got to take that down, contempt of court. The judge insisted that the public and the jury cannot know the truth about this man's identity. And isn't it, you know, convenient how they're willing to tell us when someone has committed a crime, they're willing to tell us plenty of other details about the individual. And if it's someone who's British, they'll happily tell us their identity and what town they're from. But if it is someone who has come to this country as an illegal migrant, they do not want to tell us. They've kept it secret from us. They ended up having to move the case from Nottingham Crown Court to Birmingham Crown Court because they were so concerned about the people in Nottingham and the jury knowing that this was an illegal migrant.
This is what happened in the case, right? This guy, he's now been found guilty, so he's a double rapist. When he was asked, so the police now, when they arrest suspects, that do now finally have a policy after the horror of Southport, where they do reveal whether or not they're asylum seekers or migrants. But clearly the courts do not have that policy. When this guy, this rapist, during the case was asked, are you an asylum seeker, by the prosecuting barrister, he lost his rag and started screaming and shouting about how that was not relevant to the case. And it's like, thank you very much, your learned defendant, but you can go do one. The atrocity, the scandal is that the judge backed him. The judge backed him. So while we now have a policy quite right, the people have a right to know this. I mean, this isn't just about asylum seekers. This is about a transparent justice system. As an old school reporter, you know, from local papers and things going back a long way, the public have a right to know the name, the address, the nationality, and everything about the defendant. We have a right to know. The accused. The courts are now apparently deciding we do not have a right to know that they're an asylum seeker, the idea being that juries will then be prejudiced against them. That is a crock, to be honest with you. So the courts, judges, these left-wing judges have got to be told...
Also, he's not an asylum seeker. He's from Pakistan. There's no war in Pakistan. I've been over and worked in Pakistan.
Well, he is, because we were putting him up on...
No, but this is it. I hate the way that this is done, because it's this idea that anybody can call themselves an asylum seeker until proven otherwise.
And they make up the
But he was, though, Alex. He'd applied and he was staying
He's
at an
broken
asylum...
into the country illegally in the back of a boot.
Yeah, but they all do that.
No,
then they apply for asylum. Then we put them in a hotel.
It should be straight away.
I mean, I agree with you. What kind of war and torture happens in Pakistan? What is he escaping?
Well, of course, torture's fairly like, you know...
His story is this: if you send me back, I'll be persecuted. Yeah, but not nearly enough. That's his story. But he is an asylum seeker.
No, but we get asylum seekers from Egypt, from Morocco. There's been a few sex cases recently.
From the Caribbean, for crying out loud.
I know. So we've got to look at this asylum system and think, why are we the world's benefit system? Why should we do this?
If I decided, I don't know, I fancy going and living in Brazil, right, and decided to take a boat
by the way, I do.
To the coast of Brazil and said, like, right, I live here now, I'm seeking asylum, they would just throw me straight into prison or put me on the first flight home. You wouldn't say, oh, she's seeking asylum, that makes her an asylum seeker.
And they wouldn't be called racist either.
Right.
Exactly.
Don't you think, Ellie, that we have a right to know whether or not a defendant, a suspect in a very serious case, sexual crime,
definitely, because as Chloe said,
is an asylum seeker?
As Chloe said, when it's a white British man, we know straight away, and we've seen that with cases all the time. So people should have the right to know. And I think the problem is, and why people get so angry, is because it's one rule for one and then one rule for another. It needs to be consistent. Yeah, exactly. It's two-tier and it needs to be consistent. And I think that's what the British public care about the most, is being consistent. And especially in cases like this when it's so outrageous and so appalling. And as Alex said, and they're being called an asylum seeker, people should know that. And the definition of asylum seeker is definitely
is someone
quite
who's
vague
applied
at the
for
moment.
asylum. It's as simple as that.
I think when I think of an asylum seeker,
is someone who's applied for asylum. This guy had applied for asylum.
But when I
he
think
was in an asylum seeker hotel.
of an asylum seeker, I think of someone who's fleeing war or fleeing torture and they have to seek refuge, not someone who has come here after going through multiple safe countries.
But that's our crazy system. We have widened the goalpost.
Yeah, but I put this on the same level as men who say, I'm a woman, so you've got to call me a woman. I'm applying for asylum, therefore I am an asylum seeker. No, you're just broken into the country, mate.
Yeah, but technically, if you've applied for asylum, you're seeking asylum.
Illegal migrant.
Yeah, but you're still an asylum seeker. I know it's annoying.
No, I don't care.
If somebody's applied for asylum,
the scandal is not the
they are an asylum seeker.
The scandal is not the term; it's the fact that they all get approved.
Exactly,
and Pakistanis
absolutely.
make up they are the most prominent group seeking asylum in this country. A lot of people don't realise that because you don't get many Pakistanis coming across on the boats because so many of them
they come on student visas.
They come here legally on visas and then they claim asylum once they're here.
Let's move on. Adam, talking of the law and order, let's talk about the police, the Met Police.
I don't want to get arrested on the way home, but it's the Met Police is my plank of the week because they are banning a planned Walk for Jesus march on the basis that it might offend the local Muslim community. Now, for me, recent events with West Midlands Police and other things, we see how they police the Palestinian marches or the pro-Palestinian marches in London. It's one rule for those and one rule for normal people. Two-tier justice. They're scared, they're cowed of maybe the extremists within the Muslim community.
Yeah, what you want to say about the police, this is the Met Police, when will they learn? To go through Whitechapel, an extremely Muslim area of East London, and they say, it's provocative and the Muslims might attack.
Well, firstly,
but wait a second. This is a protest. This is a demonstration. They're meant to be provocative. It is the police's job to defend those people's right to march for Christianity through a Muslim area.
As someone who loves a bit of the great G and the late great JC, big fans. But everyone's a plank in this.
Yeah,
the people organising this are planks because they're doing it to be provocative.
What's wrong with that?
Let me finish.
Demonstrations are provocative.
Let me finish. They're doing it because they want to provoke people. They want to ensure that Muslims come out with weapons and attack them, which then is going to waste a whole load of police resources because they want to have their stupid little, viral moments on social media.
Well, you like Jesus.
I know, but this is what I'm saying. Look, as a Christian, would I go and deliberately...
messages here.
No, as a Christian, would I go and deliberately try and, cause... fisticuffs in the middle of the street? No. It's ridiculous that we live in a world where actually, being a Christian and going into a Muslim area is viewed as provocative, but they're also idiots for doing this. I'm sorry, they are.
What is a pro-Palestine march? That's provocative.
No, exactly. I hate all of that. Can people just blimmin' stay at home?
And they let
Get on with
they let them
lives.
demonstrate outside of synagogues as well. So if they're going to do that, why are they not allowing this to go on? It is their job to police the streets and, as you say, keep people safe. But look, we are a Christian country. I'm an atheist, but we are a Christian country. People should be allowed to protest or march in the name of that religion
I agree with that.
through any area.
I agree with that, but if you sit and think about what they wanted to happen, they wanted it to kick off. And if they want it to kick off and the police have to throw a load of money and resources into that, then, when Mrs. Miggins has a, head boshed over by somebody in a handbag snatch, they're not going to be there for her. So I'm afraid everyone's just got to be responsible. I hate the situation that we're in. I hate it as a Christian that I feel like my religion comes bottom of the blimmin' pile, that you can poke fun at it, kick at it, say what you like, be horrible about Christians. I hate that. But at the same time, I'm a responsible adult. I'm not about to go into the middle of Whitechapel with a Bible
I disagree with you. I usually agree with you on everything, but I think people have got a right to do this. Just because it's provocative and potentially dangerous, it's the police to make sure it isn't dangerous. We've got a right to do this. This is a democracy. You can't turn around and say, the Muslims might attack, so we won't do it. That's two-tier justice. Anyway, let's move on. Ellie, you want to talk about Sussex University. Why on earth do you want to talk about that?
So they recently tried to set up a Reform Society at the university.
Reform UK?
Yeah, and it's a branch of Students for Reform, which is what Reform set up. And immediately they were just faced with death threats, harassment, social exclusion. And they put up one post and saying, welcome to our society, and there's thousands and thousands of comments of just people being really like violent and, as I said, literal death threats. And the university didn't really do much about it. And then after a couple of days, they put a statement up saying they commit to free speech. But these kinds of comments were just like horrible. It's like, jump off the pier, hope you get set on fire. And this comment I thought was really interesting because it's literally a lie. So it said, you cannot promote initiatives like scholarships for Palestinian students and publicly commit to equality while allowing a society that encourages segregation, racism and xenophobia. I've never heard reform encourage segregation. Am I going insane? Or
well,
exactly.
No, but I mean that's classic, isn't it? I mean, somewhere like Sussex University. Do you live down there in Brighton, isn't it? Because you broke the story, didn't you?
No, I didn't. But I had some of the students reach out to me, and then at the start of the week, I visited and interviewed some of them, and they have an Instagram account, these left-wing students called anti-fascist students at Sussex, and one of them spotted me.
Anti-fascist. I'm a member of the pro-fascist society.
And they put on their account, alert, alert, there is journalists on campus, do not speak to them. And then they have their Freshers' Fair coming up this week, and the police have had to get involved, and it's been because of all these threats, and there's going to be a protest, and the protesters that are obviously part of this anti-fascist students at Sussex have put up, know your rights, wear a mask, do this, do that. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. And they're saying that these students are fascists for wanting to set up a society where they're the ones that are trying to shut it down. So it's ridiculous. And I feel really sorry for the students as well, because they just want to do something good and set up a society. They said they had no right-wing societies at the university at all. The only societies they have are the Green Society and the Marxist Society. So, I mean, they were kind of expecting this kind of backlash, but I don't think to this extent.
But, you know, Sussex University, the minute things kicked off, they should have said to their students, anybody, you know, writing stuff like this on social media will not get their degrees. You know, it's well within their rights to say, if you act like this, if you threaten people, you will not get your degrees. The problem is so many people are just weak-willed. They don't want to upset, you know.
I think, Chloe, I think that what worries me about this kind of story, it's the sort of story you expect on our campuses around the country, is just how, you know, phenomenally intolerant our students have become. No capacity for debate or argument. You know, we're right and you're a Nazi. That's basically their attitude. I mean,
I'm starting to creep towards the opinion that we should just bulldoze all the universities in the country now. What is the point?
You're starting to creep. You're starting to creep towards that opinion.
I mean, if it gets any worse,
It's scaring me.
I say it slightly jokingly, but there may come.
I'm liking it. I think it's a good plan.
Or I say, let's just do it. What is the point in universities at the moment? The purpose of university, these students, they should go read the university motto or whatever, because I think most of them will quite clearly say that the point of coming to this university is to debate different ideas, engage with people that you don't agree with, be open-minded, right? And the students are going completely against that. I mean, Alex, when you say that they shouldn't get their degrees, although I'm generally of the opinion you shouldn't have your jobs and degrees stripped from you for something that you've said, if you are not doing your degree in the spirit of that degree, which is to look into and talk with people of different opinions, then, well, you don't really deserve a degree, do you?
The thing is, though, Adam, going to university, getting a good degree, it's great, you know, for kids' careers, getting jobs. We've just learned that there are 700,000 university graduates in this country on benefits, unable to find a job. Most of them got, like, degrees in babysitting and gardening and things like that. A lot of Mickey Mouse degrees out there, but even people with good degrees, even people coming out of Oxford and Cambridge now are struggling to find jobs.
And they're radicalised.
Mainly because I think employers, companies, organisations are becoming suspicious about the quality of graduates and the atmosphere that they've been through their courses on. You know, what Ellie's talking about, this kind of crazy left-wing intolerance.
How can... let's call them kids, they're not kids, but how can
they are to me.
these young adults learn amongst this terrible sort of indoctrination?
And they push each other on as well, because they think that this behaviour is normal, like just giving death threats because you don't agree with someone's normal.
They're getting this from America. This whole
Yeah,
anti-fascist thing is coming from America, and they don't realise that they are the fascists themselves. If you shut down free speech, you're a fascist.
I'll tell you what's really worrying, though. If you think this lot are bad, this generation, the ones coming behind them are even worse, because a quarter of them can't even go to the toilet by themselves. They have to wear nappies when they start school. Can't even feed themselves. I mean, we're just becoming a nation of absolute...
But let me tell you, even the ones that come out of Oxford and Cambridge, present company accepted, of course, Chloe, they barely know how to use the apostrophe, full stops.
But they're intelligent, but they have no common sense.
Yeah.
They say they're intelligent.
The students haven't done anything wrong either, except for basically have the wrong opinion. And when I interviewed one of them, they actually said to me that the majority of the country believe that we should lower immigration. Yet if you said that at university, it'd be like a death sentence. And I thought that was like really telling.
And that's actually a very mainstream view, but
Exactly.
they live in this bubble and they somehow think that that's racist. And you know, before I went to university, when I was a sixth former with all my peers and schoolmates and friends, I would have so many amazing debates, be it politics, philosophy, economics, whatever it was, right? And I loved that. And I was so excited to have more of that when I went to university. As soon as I went to university, I just had to put my head down and be quiet, because else the mob would come for you and they would come like wolves.
Like, it's so weird, because when I went to university, it was brilliant. Everyone was right-wing and used to go out shooting game. It's perfect. Loved it.
There is an Oxford University shooting
Not very nice for the game, I guess.
But they grow up. At some point, they will grow up and realise how wrong they are. But it's at what age that happens now, and that's what scares me.
They'd grow up quicker if they didn't go to university. They're going backwards with their maturity.
That's why I haven't gone to university, because I don't want to go through all of this, and I don't think it's actually worth it. Because I have friends that have got degrees as well, and they haven't been able to do anything more that I have been able to do without it. So I don't think it's worth it anymore. And as you said, it's like 50% of people go to university. A degree isn't as valuable anymore.
I went to Cambridge. Best day out I ever had. Right, let's go to break.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back to part 2 of Plank of the Week. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and this is my fabulous panel. And it's my go. It's the Met Police. They've done it again. Double trouble for the Met Police. They were searching, hunting, looking for a young black guy, a 26-year-old guy who had a gun. And they had a search warrant. And they went round what turned out to subsequently be the wrong address. It was in Cricklewood. Now, it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and the guy who lived there is a guy called Roy Morton. He's an 80-year-old former ballet dancer. They banged on the door, so they smashed his door down. He got out of bed, going, "What the hell is going on?" You know, obviously said, "What?" You know, so they tasered him. He's 80 years old. He's got a heart problem, and then they arrested him for affray because he had resisted their attempts to search his house. They're hunting for a 26-year-old black guy with a gun, and they went into this flat, Roy Morton's flat, into his house, and they go, "Well, that must be him!" Bang! 80-year-old white ballet dancer, not a 26-year-old black guy with a gun. Now, that was in 2021. It was in December, just before Christmas. Only now, 4 or 5 years later, have they finally given him £50,000 compensation. They tried to obfuscate, they tried to crush his case as if they hadn't done anything wrong. Now, you know, this is a piece of police incompetence that defies belief. It's off the scale, isn't it, Alex?
We're supposed to be laughing, for crying out loud. I don't know what I can say about that other than that's really harrowing.
It has got a funny aspect to it.
It's lucky he didn't die.
I thought my Amazon parcel arriving at 10:30 this morning when I was still sleeping was horrible enough. When my doorbell went, ah! I know, 10:30.
So 10:30 this morning, you were still sleeping?
Yeah, but my commute is like a gazillion years. I didn't get home. I didn't get home till about 1 a.m. So, you know, because I'm doing that late show. You can't just,
I know all about that.
Changes your body clock, that one. But that was harrowing enough when you get the postman coming too early. But that's just grotesque. That poor geezer.
But the way they dragged their heels was a disgrace. They tried to sort of bury the case. They tried to, just make it go away and act like they
probably thought he would die before it would come to this conclusion.
Yeah.
No disrespect, he's 80-odd years of age, And
he's got a heart condition.
What a disgrace.
They're lucky he didn't die.
Yeah.
He's finally got 50,000 quid. But that was an absolute disgrace. Talking of disgraces, Alex, let's talk about the feminist historian Irene Coslet, who's written a book with an interesting theory about William Shakespeare.
I love this. This is just peak. It's so brilliant because, you know, everyone knows that William Shakespeare, they don't know what he looks like. We've all seen his mug. You know, comes from Stratford-upon-Avon, working class man, completely changed the way that, you know, sonnets were written and plays were put on. Just amazing. The Bard.
Changed the language.
Changed the language. Just utterly sensational, known the world over. So old Irene here, and I don't know how the left wing get these books published. Do you know what I mean? It's mad. The publisher goes, oh, that's a good idea. Said, I want to write a book that Shakespeare was actually not only not a man, he was a woman. Not only was he not white, he was black. He was also Jewish. Yeah. And like make him a paraplegic.
That's a hat trick.
A convert, and it's the whole world. But of course he wasn't a black Jewish woman. And the fact that anybody thought that you could publish a book saying that credibly is mad.
And let me tell you something about this Irene Coslet. She's referring it, by the way, to a 16th century poet called Emilia Bassano. That's the black Jewish woman that Irene Coslet said was actually Shakespeare, wrote Shakespeare's play. Why did Irene say that it couldn't have been this? Couldn't have been this white guy with a bit? Because he's a man, and because he's low-born. He was working class. Therefore, he could not have been an intellectual.
So I got real issue with this because
what's that about?
At university, I did my dissertation on the sonnet form, right? So I studied the actual sort of the scansion and things like caesuras and dactylic hexameters and all the origins of it. The musicality of writing verse is just such an interesting thing to study at a technical level. And when I was doing this, I actually really started to appreciate, even though I don't like his music, I started to appreciate Eminem's rap because I'm like, how on earth does he use all these things, do his, you know, to follow rhythms and do internal rhyme like he does? That guy was brought up in a trailer park. He never went to university and studied poetry. You don't have to. You've either got
Shakespeare was Eminem?
You haven't. Basically, no, he was. Yeah. No, this is the thing. He was the Eminem of his time. This is what people need to understand. He introduced so much neologism. Do you like that?
No.
New words into the English language.
I need a dictionary here, Kev.
He basically invented all these new words, this slang. He used to do sort of like Yoda-style inversion of words. He completely changed the English language to give it musicality, so it had a beat to it, basically. And so he was the Eminem of his age.
Yeah, and,
who also was not
ladies
a black
and
woman,
gentlemen, this is Radio 4. Next up, it's the Archers. Anyway, enough of this learned tract. What do you think about this, Adam?
What, this story?
The Jewish black woman who's actually Shakespeare.
I'm actually surprised that these left-wingers haven't said that it's from Gaza. It's like these left-wingers want to just erase sort of white men. Yeah. You know, like we've never done anything.
But this woman Coslet, her contention is this, that these brilliant plays, written clearly by a genius, a literary genius, that a literary genius, A, could not be someone who is a man, B, could not be someone from the lower orders, and C, could not be a bald guy.
Do you remember that?
It's
ridiculous.
That
amazing
and they call us sexist and racist.
Sexist, that is snobbish sexism.
Yeah. Do you remember that amazing story where someone dug a skelly bob out of a bog in England or something and went, oh, look, this is like early, you know, man in the UK. It's Neolithic, you know, human being. And there's this whole story of, oh, wow, they were black. And then they did this whole reconstruction. It's like, yeah, clearly not. Like,
yeah. And you know what? I saw a clip from like I can't remember which show, but a BBC children's show the other day where they're teaching the history of Britain, and they've got a black guy on there teaching the children, saying, "Oh, Britain was built by all of these black people." And I'm like, look, I've got nothing against black people, but you don't need to tell children a completely different story of history to make them think that white people weren't involved at all.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with
these people think that Windrush happened in about 1066, don't they? You know, in fact, it was way after that. So it's ridiculous. Shall we move on? And it's an old favourite from you, Chloe. It is our good friend, the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC. What do you got?
Well, they've done multiple things. Not only that children's show rewriting history, but the main thing I want to talk about with the BBC is they have once again completely insulted the Jewish community, and of all days to do it, they've done it on Holocaust Memorial Day. What did they do when they made the announcement that it's Holocaust Memorial Day? They said 6 million people were killed by the Nazis. And I suppose you could say maybe that was a mistake. They didn't put the word Jews in the script. But when that comes after everything that we have seen, they're completely skewed coverage in Gaza. We had that report saying that they've broken their own editorial guidelines over 1,500 times. We've had whistleblowers say that they were begging the BBC bosses to do something about it. Nothing was done. We had that hoo-ha over the Gaza documentary narrated by a child who was the child of
the Deputy Agricultural Minister
of course,
Hamas.
we had the whole Bob Villain, deaf to the IDF saga, and it seems as though the BBC just do not care at all about telling the truth about Israel or showing any respect for the Jewish cause whatsoever. And this was like the cherry on top.
There's an argument that there is a strain of anti-Semitism at Broadcasting House.
A strain?
Clearly,
I was going to say a strain.
Well, you know, I mean, you can't accuse everybody.
Pandemic, mate.
But clearly, the newsroom has problems.
Well, I mean,
let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this.
Today marks Holocaust Memorial Day, a day for remembering the 6 million people who were murdered by the Nazi regime over 80 years ago.
Now, today marks Holocaust Memorial Day, a day for remembering the 6 million people who were murdered by the Nazi regime over 80 years ago.
27th of January, Holocaust Memorial Day, a day for remembering the 6 million people who were murdered by the Nazi regime over 80 years ago.
Is ChatGPT right in the scripts these days?
That's disgusting. That
not a
is
mistake.
Disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting. Folks, that is an anti-Semitism incarnate. How dare they?
The fact that it's different people and different programmes as well shows that something's
Well,
been
right.
sent
It's
out
across the
saying
board,
you have to say
exactly.
people.
What's the word?
Institutionally.
Institutionally anti-Semitic. I'll go on record to say that.
I noticed
believe they
the first newsreader there, Martin, was it Crossall?
Yeah.
She didn't correct the script there, probably because she got in huge trouble for correcting the script that previously said pregnant people, and she corrected it.
She's
So
a
she
lefty.
daren't do it again.
She's a terrible lefty.
Well, at least she was
activist.
She was right and knew what a woman
she
was on one
probably
instance.
didn't correct it for technical reasons. You were talking also, Chloe.
Oh yes,
about the British school system.
Multiple reasons to talk about the BBC this week. So they had a radio show where they had a guest on who was talking about how British schools are institutionally racist.
Here it is.
Take a listen.
It's a system that is essentially built on a culture of whiteness. So by nature, our education system is rooted in systemic racism.
And what does that mean when you say a culture of whiteness? Because there'll be people listening to the show that would say, what does whiteness mean when it comes to education?
The system that we see reflects a certain type of person, and that is white, cis, straight. Everybody else is deemed as other. They are outside of that.
I've literally lived in Africa, and kids go to school and learn times table in the English language, which is a lot more than we teach kids these days.
And you wouldn't go to a school in Africa and say, oh, all the other children here are black, I'm the only white person, therefore it's systemically racist against white people. You wouldn't say that. You'd just say, I'm in Africa, right? Like if you have a school in Britain, right, it's kind of likely that the majority of the children are going to be white. Not because the school is racist and they don't let black children in the school, right? It's just because you're in Britain. Yet this girl seems to think that, because the majority of the kids are white, it must be because they just hate black children.
I just don't think it is systemically racist. Maybe it was however many decades ago, but it's definitely not now. And I think so teachers now, they have training on anti-racism and white privilege and all of these concepts. And I think by pushing for it so much, by doing all these different schemes, all of these assemblies, it actually makes the problem worse because you're viewing people differently. Instead, just treat everyone as equal.
Let's look at what is racist. All kids are equal and should be taught the same, or black kids can't learn the same as white kids. Which is the racist comment.
But let's remember, young white boys are the most underachieving group in this country. So is there racism against young white boys?
White privilege is a ridiculous concept. Tell that to white kids on sink estates all over the country. And this is what we're talking about here. That was, of course, on BBC Radio 1 Extra, as in extra stupid. What we're talking about here is anti-white racism, which is becoming more and more of a scourge in this country. Yeah, right, Adam?
It's allowed. You're allowed to be racist.
Compulsory
towards white people,
literally.
And that is a fact. Let's remember as well. Worldwide, white people only make up 10% of the worldwide population.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So we're an oppressed minority.
Listen, if you listen to the media, you would think that we take over the world and we are the majority. We are not. But it just annoys me how people are allowed to spout anti-white racism on media. Out in the street, and nothing happens to them. I've had it on social media. They call me white this, white that. Nothing will ever happen. If I dared, I would never.
If you did it the other way around.
If I said you black that or I would get in trouble.
So it seems to be legal, even by public authorities, to advertise for jobs for black people. Yeah. Only blacks need apply, essentially. If you put no blacks can apply, you'd be in big trouble.
It is worse than that, because it's not saying only blacks need apply. It's basically saying the only people who cannot apply for this job are white people.
Yeah. So
that's what it actually does.
I know, it's absolutely ridiculous. Anti-white racism, folks, it's a thing. Let's go to break.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back. This is part 3, a Plank of the Week. We're in the process of choosing. It's been very difficult to choose who is the biggest idiot of the past 7 days. And over to you, Adam Brooks.
Well, my nomination is another police force, so I look like very anti-police
lots
today.
Of cops.
Defund the police.
Yes, right. But it's for Sussex Police. They went and knocked at a lady's door and basically interrogated her, asking her when she was next going to be at the Crowborough protest, and asking her reasons and various different things. And they tried to frame it that they was there to assist her. Now, no disrespect. I've been on many protests for Epping and for the Bell Hotel. If the police came to my door, I'd be very polite and say, it's none of your business. You've got no reason to be at my door and ask me when I'm next going to be there. I've got a democratic right to protest. I don't break the law. I'm not insulting officers. I'm polite. Go away.
Well, let's have a look at the cops knocking on this poor lady's door.
I haven't planned any protest. I attend protest.
Are you attending anymore?
Yeah, I will be.
Do you mind if I ask where?
Yeah, I do mind.
That's outrageous. That's outrageous. She should have just said, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you.
I thought the excuse would be that, OK, maybe they're trying to see how many people are going to be there, what roads they need to close. I'm an assist. What does that even mean? I don't understand that.
Someone was probably getting their bag nicked in Crowborough High Street while they was at her door, and they got robbed or had that crime because the police weren't about.
What is so sad, though, I think, about today, where we've got to, is the police there could actually genuinely be trying to say to the people who they think are going to go protesting, right, we need to know if we do need to lock off roads so you are able to go and do your protest. But our trust in the police, because all the rubbish they've done, all the stuff that circulates them doing on Ring doorbells, you know, put something on social media, is we immediately think of law enforcement as out there to get us unjustly. Yeah. And that is the beginning of the darkest rot in a society. Yeah, when you don't trust your police force anymore, that is the beginning of something quite grim.
Or when your police forces become pro-Palestine and left-wing, you're in big trouble.
And fabricate evidence as well. Look,
it's not their job to do what it's not their job to go around and say, are you going to go to a protest?
And I think what the police don't realise, because it's their jobs and they do it every day, is that when they go to someone's door unnecessarily, like the guy who got tasered that we were talking about, and all the people who've had the police come and knock on their doors for social media posts, even if they don't ultimately end up in prison for it, that terrifies them for life often. Now, it really terrifies people when the police come at the door and you're not expecting it, and you're interrogated. And then every single time you hear a knock at the door or you hear a siren go by, you know, your your blood pressure starts going up, and then you start getting all worried. And that
doesn't bother me. I'm used to it.
No, but it's scary, Kev, because there was a story yesterday where a paedophile head teacher got away with having 30,000 images of young kids as young as 4. He escaped prison, he got suspended sentence. But I tweeted that story and I had to change it because I'm thinking, no, I might get a knock on the door for what I'm putting here.
Yeah,
so that is where we're living in Britain.
I kind of feel like it'd be a badge of honour. I'm surprised they haven't come for me yet. I'm waiting.
Yeah, don't worry. I've reported you, so it won't be long.
The thing is, as well, it's those individual police officers that will get all of the hate for doing that as well, when a lot of the time they're being told to do that by people sitting in the headquarters, behind a laptop, going on the phone, and yet they're the people that will get the hate and the harassment from it. So, I think it's just institutionally the police.
It's the woke leadership.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Sussex Police, you're under arrest. Let's move on. Ellie, you got the Green Party. What have they done this time?
So the former co-chair of the Green Party Women, she's now taking legal action against the Green Party because she was suspended multiple times for having gender-critical views and going to protests. But the last straw for them was her making some sarcastic comments towards someone who wanted to identify as a fairy, and I think they wanted faux fair pronouns. So she made
Faux
exactly,
fair?
yeah.
Faux fun.
So
hang on, what's faux fair? What does that mean, even?
No idea.
She, faux fur.
So she made a joke that every time someone says men are not women, a person with fairy pronouns literally dies.
What?
And apparently that was the last straw for the Green Party. And I actually spoke with her the other day, and I think the problem here is when the Green Party was first made, it was made for climate change reasons. Now, they're saying that they're, a party of science or whatever is what they originally were saying. How can they say they're a party of science? They're using science to back up climate change when they don't even know what a man and woman is. And they're actually suspending people and stopping people being part of their party if they question that thinking as well. I think they should just go back to focusing on climate change.
No, they're an Islamo-Marxist party, They don't give a hoot about recycling. That's where it all began. It was like landfill.
Zach Polanski, or as I like to call him, David Paulden, for that is his real name, never talks about net zero or green issues.
I
I
was reading his 5 pledges or 5 priorities, whatever he calls it, the other day, and I noticed that on his top 5 list of things he's focused on.
No greenery.
There was no greenery whatsoever. Also, I would love to see the Green Party ask all of the pro-Gaza Muslim MPs that or candidates that are involved in the party what their views are on these pronouns and what their views are on the idea of a man becoming a woman.
Absolutely.
And I think they'll find that there is more disagreement in the party than they thought.
But this lady, the ex-chairwoman, the reason she's in trouble is she sort of made a joke about it. She's laughed about somebody,
right. No sarcasm is allowed.
And so she's in trouble for not taking it seriously when people identify as fairies and want to be addressed by the pronouns fair and frey or whatever it is. She's in trouble for not taking that seriously. Therefore, I think we're going to have trouble taking the Green Party seriously, aren't we?
But we are encouraging and facilitating mental illness. If you pretend that you are a fairy, you need psychiatric help.
That's what children do.
Anyone that goes along with it or protects this ridiculousness is culpable as well,
And she said as well, she's like a really strong green, and she'll always be a green in the principles which they were made for originally. So it's a shame that she's been treated so badly, because you can have whatever political opinion you want. I wouldn't personally agree with what the Greens stand for, but she does. And just because she doesn't agree with them on one issue, she doesn't believe that people can identify as fairies, that means she should be banned from the party.
Oh, she should be.
Crazy.
She's dodging a silver bullet, mate. She's got out of that fascist institution.
She sounds way too sensible for the Green Party. Here is the Green Party's very unsensible leader, Zach Polanski, clubbing in heaven in the gay club. There he is. Oh, my God.
He makes me cringe so
So there's
bad.
another thing he can't do, dance. Look at that.
He can't run either. Oh,
God, now he's got a hat on.
Imagine going to that club and not realising that he was going to be there, and you're some right-wing...
It's all like evolution's got a plan for all of them.
Imagine the Greens ever got in, this mad thing that happened. This country would be bankrupt within months. Our allies would be just coming away from us
Do you know what, though?
and laughing.
I actually support them. Like, go on, Greens, get bigger, get better.
Yeah, because they're screw Labour.
At least it'll get Labour out.
Yeah, I agree.
They're too mental to ever actually get into. They are too mental to ever get. I just find it a funny little
Zach
side
Polanski,
show.
of course, won first prize in the Plug from the Beano lookalike contest. Yeah, you know he's got those terrible teeth.
Yeah.
He explained it the other day. He's got these milk teeth from childhood that haven't, they're still there.
No.
His proper teeth have not come through. Another reason to be very suspicious about this very strange man. Let's go to break.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back. This is the final section of this excellent edition of Plank of the Week, and it's my go. I seem to be sort of cleaning up on the pensioners this week. This is my last nomination was 80 years old. This one's older. This is 83-year-old Carol Wright. There she is with her daughter there. She's a pensioner, lives near Reading, and she took some rubbish down to the local, official rubbish tip place, and among this rubbish was a cardboard box that had been addressed to her, and apparently she put all the rubbish in the bin. She says she put it all in, but it was very full, and it seems that this cardboard box got blown out or something. Anyway, a Jobsworth from the tip, the dump, found this box, this little cardboard box like that, by the proper bin, picked it up, and it had our friend's, poor Carol's, home address on it. So they tracked her down, and she's now being hit with a £600 fine by Reading Council for fly tipping. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
There's all this mad. You keep hearing of these fines of what's that man whose leaf blew into his face somewhere and spat it out, and he got a fine. You've got all these mad Jobsworths like fining people for litter and this, that, and the other.
Pouring coffee down a drain.
Yeah. When at the same time, there's huge swathes of England just becoming giant fly tipping zones, like whole rivers.
Yeah, that's
like
exactly
ones in
right,
India.
Alex. Exactly. You get these massive mountains of fly tipping, and nobody does anything
But
about it.
the reason you actually get the big fly tipping sites is because actually getting rid of your rubbish is becoming more and more difficult.
Yeah.
It's like having to do the Krypton Factor challenge in the Cotswolds with all like 85,000 different bins, what you can take to the tip on what day. It's like...
But you have to make appointments and things.
Yeah,
This
is why.
It's a rubbish tip.
This is why when a sort of guy comes in and goes, oh yeah, I'll give me 100 quid and I'll take all that away for you. You go, all right then, mate. And then he just goes down to a sort of like river and goes... Bleh.
Chucks it in your back garden.
What sort of person would grass this woman up? What sort of person do you need to be
Karen.
They just
to
found
take
it.
your
Better
job
to
that
do.
seriously and not think, you know what, I'm just going to pick it and put it in myself?
It's
So
just
600 quid? That's mental.
It's ridiculous, and you're talking about these ludicrous. This is revenue raising by overzealous councils. That's what they do now. Peter Blexley, our friend, the ex-Met Police detective, he got done for 100 quid because he's having a gasp for a cigarette outside Waterloo Station, flicked it down the drain. 100 quid.
Really?
My favourite. You talked about the lady with the coffee and the guy with the leaf in his hair. My favourite was the woman who was taking a dog for a walk, and the dog wasn't doing his business or anything like that. A council Jobsworth came up to her and said, "Have you got a poo bag for your dog?" And she said, "Well, actually, I forgot. I haven't like that. Actually, dog wasn't doing anything. Right, 100 quid fine." The dog wasn't even doing anything. She gets 100 quid fine because she didn't have a poo bag in her pocket.
Apparently they checked that you've got at least 3 poo bags a lot of these days.
Is that what it is?
It has to be 3 poo bags that you've got.
Where are these laws put? How are we meant to know that? Who
That's a good point, Adam. That is a very good point.
The guy that actually tackled her could just about speak English. Let's be truthful with that. And there was a great person from the public that went to her defence and said, "You're intimidating this woman." He was a big guy, and he was intimidating her. And a member of the public said, "Go away, stop intimidating her." But that's where we are now. Jobsworth, many of them are foreign.
Poor old Carol Wright, 83. You know what old ladies are like. Her daughter says that she's really screwed up about it. She can't sleep. She's worried about getting a criminal record and all this. Is nonsense.
But I'll tell you what, if she has to do that, I'll get a crowdfunder and we'll pay for that. I'll pay for it and we get her money back.
She's probably someone who's done.
100%. She's not going to have to pay that herself.
No.
But Reading Council need to drop this. This is a joke. OK, It is now time for me to make the big decision. Who is the plank of the week? Very, very difficult to choose because we've got some very strong contenders, as always. But I think, you know, Alex, you are one of life's winners, as we know. And I think you have won. I think we're going to give it to the feminist historian, Irene Coslet, for insisting that Shakespeare's plays were written by a black Jewish woman. So, Eileen Coslet, you are the very deserved plank of the week. And on that bombshell, thank you very much to our excellent panel, Alex Phillips, Chloe Dobbs, Adam Brooks, and of course, Ellie Hodges. Thank you so much. Brilliant show. I've been Kevin O'Sullivan. You've been an excellent audience. We're going to be back next week looking for another plank of the week. We expect you to join us on that magnificent journey. Thank you so much. See you soon.